You're welcome back. This is the AM show, and guess who's joining me for the news review? Daniel Dadze.
I thought you were going to say Santa Claus.
Oh, how? But you didn't bring me anything.
You can call me Santa Dan. It's almost Christmas.
If you had brought me something, I would have done that for you.
What's good, Kamla?
I'm okay. How about you?
I'm good. I'm good. You guys pulled me out of early retirement. 3 days.
You thought it was pension, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But we're back. Okay, so we're going to do the front pages first. Why don't you start?
Okay, so on the front page of a Daily Statesman newspaper, Enin Yeboah gets nod for Chief Justice. That's on page 2 of the paper. It says President nominates successor as Sufai Kufu prepares to stand down. And that's on the front page of a Daily Statesman newspaper. Also on the front page is Akufo-Addo to face the press at Jubilee House today. That's one of the major stories on the front page of a Statesman. Also, it says use your mobile phone to check insurance on the next trotro from 2020. Looks like a lot of services are getting digital in this day.
Yeah, so mobile phone to check insurance on the next trotro.
From 2020.
Most of us who take trotros are very excited.
Don't go there. Don't go there.
So that front page story on Justice Eni Yeboah is also here on the Daily Graphic. We got it. Eni Yeboah is Chief Justice designate. It will deal with criminals, IGP warns, and teachers call off strike, which is, should be relief for all parents out there. The back page of the Daily Graphic, a Tema Metropolitan Assembly chases businesses for property rates.
On the front page of the Daily Graphic also has the story about Justice Eni Yeboah. It says Nana picks Eni Yeboah as Chief Justice on page 3 of the paper. Also on the front page of the Daily Guide newspaper is a story about Williams mansions being up for sale. Williams mansions being up for sale. Also on the front page, Osafo Mafo in court over surcharge. See page 3 for details of that. And IGP assures public safety during the Yuletide. And teachers call off Mahama arrears strike. Interesting caption I always say to this strike story. Teachers call off Mahama arrears strike.
Yes.
On the front page of a Daily Guide. On the back page of a Daily Guide newspaper, it says Konedu explains Kotoko return and Gattuso takes over Napoli for the sports enthusiasts. And then there's 3 players jailed 38 years for sexual assault.
I loved Gattuso when he was in AC Milan. I don't know if you do well as a coach.
He's been moving around a bit, trying his hands on coaching. I'm not sure how successful that has been.
You know what these very successful players do when they go and take the teams? They either build on their reputations
or they lose it altogether.
Someone says social. I didn't say it. The final newspaper has DVLA NIC, that's National Insurance Commission, integrates data next month to flush out fake expired motor insurance stickers. Dr. Baumia speaking. I think it's related to that story you reviewed on the front page of the Daily Statesman, where you can sit in a trotro and check if it's insured. Go out and vote in district level elections on Tuesday, GJA, Ghana Journalists Association. And that's a picture of Edmund Kofi Yeboah, General Secretary of the GJA. Half of CHIPS zones lack basic amenities, and that's community health planning services zones. CHIPS compounds is what we call them. But the zones that they serve lack those amenities. And of course, there's that ubiquitous story of President Akufo-Addo nominating Justice Eni Yeboah as Chief Justice.
That also features prominently on the front page of the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Just the headline is a bit interesting. So when I do this to you, what am I doing to you?
You've tapped me.
Good. So the front page says, President taps Justice Eni Yeboah as Chief Justice.
Interesting.
Interesting headline there. Also on the front page of the Ghanaian Times newspaper, Senior Minister, 4 others file case against Auditor General. And then 3 teacher unions call off strike. Okay, that's also featuring prominently on the front pages of a newspaper. And then banner headline here, enforce anti-corruption laws, 5 envoys urge Ghana. And those are the Danish ambassador to Ghana, Taff Dengmol. We have the UK High Commissioner to Ghana, Ian Walker. Also the Dutch ambassador to Ghana, Ron Stryker. And then, there was another one. I was at that event. So
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Yes, and then the back page of the Ghanaian Times newspaper, it says Ghana making steady progress in industrialization. That's according to Trades Minister Alan Tremantin.
You know, that story of the senior minister taking Daniel Domelevo, the Auditor General, to court is very interesting and it's featured in almost all those papers. In fact, on the front page of the Weekend today, there's a statement that Mr. Osafo Mafo put out when he decided to take Daniel Domelevo to court. So you can read the details there. It also says, coming up, Osafo Mafo daring Daniel Domelevo is a question. They say next week we shall expose the missing jigsaw, which is urging Mr. Osafo Maafo to dare the Auditor General, Daniel Domelevo. Mahama has no policies for Ghanaians, that's according to Razak Kojo Poku, CBN president. He also speaks for the National Lotteries Authority. And the truth behind the 15.6 billion Ghana cedi bailout to nail Indum others to save the NPP in 2020. You want to look at that. The back page, GFA unveils top Ghanaian coaches. We have no plans of sacking Alaji Akamba, according to the head of Accra Hearts of Oak. And Richard Comey warns Lopez. That's the International Boxing Federation, IBF lightweight champion, Richard Oblite Comey.
Yeah. Okay, on the front page of the Gold Street Business, it says National Export Development Strategy ready for Cabinet. Also, regulatory measures at SEC stores planned 1D, 1F investment fund. There's also a story about Guba signing an MOU with Hong Kong General Chamber of Commerce. And consumer inflation rises sharply. You may want to read a lot more of that on page 2 of a Gold Street Business newspaper. On the back page of the same paper, it says Hollard Ghana partners Vivo Energy to provide one-stop shop insurance. And there's also a very small story about winners of the Ghana Export Promotion Authority at 50 Export Project Competition awarded.
The Daily Dispatch is my last paper. It says, in the Capital Bank case, court to rule on receiver v. Essien, Otabil, ICGC, and 13 others. That ruling is expected to come on the 25th of February, if you want to look at that. Teachers to resume strike after 10-day injunction. That's a different angle of this entire strike story we've been talking about. Justice Eni Yeboah, probably the most popular man in Ghana this morning, nominated as next Chief Justice. WhatsApp to stop working on millions of phones in 2020, February. Interesting. Ghana has no local professional football club, according to the FIFA reports. That's my last paper.
And my last newspaper here will be the Ghanaian Observer. The front page of the Ghanaian Observer newspaper says, also has that story, our big story for today, essentially. Race for Chief Justice Akufo-Addo picks Eni Yeboah. Stories on page 9 and 10 of the paper. Also has a story relating to the Yuletide. It says IGP deploys over 15,000 police officers over Christmas festivities. And then there's another story about the Joint Insurance DVLA database going live in January 2020, according to Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. There's also another story, 81 1D, 1F companies under implementation. That's according to the Trade and Industry Minister, Alan Kojo Tremantin. On the back page of the Ghanaian Observer newspaper, which is littered with a lot of sports stories, it says Duke Micah is on the world title path, according to Andre Rosier. And Ghana FA announces launch event. And Liverpool interested in Takumi Minamino. What do you need new players for exactly?
Well, we need someone to tighten the left flank so that when Roberto Firmino is not, exactly in the best of shape. And Barca might bring 400 million for Roberto Firmino. So
you had to just sneak Barca in.
Yeah. If they bring us the 400 million, we'll take it. Yeah. But that's why we need people like
Messi and 400 million.
Firmino, please.
So those are the top stories making headlines on the front pages and the back pages of the newspapers this morning.
Super. So let's start, of course, with the biggest story this morning. The president has nominated Justice Eni Yeboah as Chief Justice. Interesting facts that have come up about the NPP's record. In all the Chief Justices we've had in the Fourth Republic, the NDC has actually nominated only one. That's Justice D.F. Hannon. All the rest have been nominated by the NPP. So yeah, it goes.
There's contention already from some quarters. They say Justice Doche, because he's the senior most at the bench, he should have been considered for this position. We've heard those comments being made already. The minority have been raising those concerns. I'm sure we'll hear from them a little later in the day. Why, these arguments have become necessary at this time. But they admit, also concede that Eni Yeboah is also a perfect fit for the
longest serving at the Supreme Court. Yeah. He's served at FIFA. I think we have his profile. Let's bring Let's bring up those graphics or the profile of Justice Eni Yeboah. That's it on your screen. He's the fourth longest serving justice of the Supreme Court. There are a number of other facts that we know about him.
That he's 66 years, and he's a graduate of the Ghana School of Law, in 1981. He was appointed to the Supreme Court by President John Agyekum Kufuor in June 2008. And we know that prior to that, he had served as a justice of the High Court from 2002 to 2003, and also justice of the Court of Appeal from 2003 to 2008.
Now, apart from being a Supreme Court Justice, Justice Eniyeboah is also a part-time lecturer in civil procedure and the Ghana legal system at the Ghana School of Law. Like I was saying earlier, his name is associated with football. He's the head of the disciplinary committee at FIFA. He's also head of appeals committee here at the Ghana Football Association. Let's come back and look at what the procedure is going to be like now. This appointment, of course, is in line with 1441 of the Constitution, where the president is empowered to, in consultation with the Council of State, appoint a Chief Justice. I just want to bring that to you very, very quickly. Yes, it's in accordance with Article 1441 of the Constitution. Now, the letter that was sent to Parliament was dated December 2. It says, pursuant to Article 1441 of the 92 Constitution, the President consulted with the Council of State on his nominee, who served at the Supreme Court for the last 11 years and 5 years on the Court of Appeal, like we were saying there earlier. It says, thus in accordance with this article, I write to inform you that I have nominated Justice Eniyeboah, Justice of the Supreme Court, for approval by Parliament as the next Chief Justice of Ghana, and include a copy of his CV. So we are to expect another vetting by the Appointments Committee of Parliament.
Yes. Right after, completing those for the Supreme Court sometime this week.
Now, interesting thoughts there. The current Chief Justice, Justice Sophia Akuffo, probably made one of the most controversial statements about legal education. When she said that not just anybody can become a lawyer. This was after only 128 out of over 1,800 students passed
the entrance exam
to the Ghana School of Law. So the next Chief Justice will really be watched closely by the legal community, by law students, to see what will be done about this this.
And already we've heard from the chairman of the Legal and Constitutional Affairs Committee and his ranking member as well, Ben Abdallah and Inu Safuseni. They say one of the major issues that the new Chief Justice should look at is, to reform legal education. They say is in a near crisis situation. We also heard from some of the private lawyers who are excited about the nomination of Justice Eniyeboah. Samson Ladia Yenini and Martin Kpebu say they hope or they believe that he's going to do something about legal education in the country.
Let's see what happens.
We'll see how that pans out. Let me just bring you this story, which has been running for the whole week. Senior Minister, 4 others file case against Auditor General. That's one of the big stories in the Ghanaian Times newspaper. It says Senior Minister Yaosafo Mafo and 4 others have filed an appeal before an Accra High Court against the Auditor General's disallowance of a $1 million payment made by the Minister for Private United Kingdom-based firm Kroll and Associates. Now, the Auditor General, Mr. Daniel Domelevo, charged the Senior Minister for alleged procurement breaches and some payments for no work done, according to the newspaper. And then the background to this is that government in September signed the contract with Kroll Associates for some professional services. Now, the contract was signed on behalf of government by Mr. Yaosafo Mafo, the Senior Minister, and was to take effect from February 2017.
Interesting one there. This lawsuit, Komla, of course, comes after this dramatic exchange in the public sphere between the Auditor General and Mr. Domelevo in terms of letters he saw. Civil society has waded into this. Why? Because Mr. Domelevo believes this is why Yoko is investigating him in the first place.
Yeah.
Now he's being investigated by Yoko for alleged procurement breaches in his office.
Yeah.
He says that in the first place, he wasn't even directly responsible for this. And he told me on the Super Morning Show that when you fight corruption, corruption fights back. Yeah. And that was
like one of the most poignant quotes by Mr. Daniel Domelevo.
I can't forget it if I try.
Yeah.
So, and that is why he believes he's being investigated. Okay. Now, he has gone on to mention that Mr. Yaosafo Mafo explained why the contract to Kroll and Associates was entered.
Okay.
The Auditor General says in the first place, you gave the person a contract, you paid the person the money before you even went to PPA to seek approval for sole sourcing.
Okay.
So that's one thing. And number 2, this is an international contract because Kroll and Associates is not a Ghanaian company.
True.
And for any international agreements that Ghana enters into, Parliament must approve. There's no parliamentary approval. So, I mean, we're having this conversation, and he was telling me that he's actually waiting for Mr. Osafo to go to court.
So he has.
And he has. So it's going to be a very interesting play of events.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking forward to how it will all play out.
Yes, definitely. If you're worried about Christmas, the IGP has been talking about dealing with criminals. Yes, the Inspector General of Police, James Opombueno, has given a stern warning to criminals who intend to strike this Christmas that the police will deal with them accordingly. He says, and I'm quoting him, "Let me once again caution all potential criminals to desist from any nefarious activity intended to ruin the peaceful celebration of the Yuletide, because the police are ready to deal decisively with them." All right. He was speaking at an event to climax Graphic Communication Safety and Security Project at his head office in Accra. Now, we know that earlier Operation Santa Claus was launched, and about some 15,000 officers are being deployed across the country.
Yeah.
It's very important, especially for this year. We know
Season.
that about 750,000 visas have been issued to Ghana. Because of this whole year of return hype. Quick one. You know, we are selling Afrochella tickets here.
Okay, yeah. At the front desk of
yes, at the front desk of
yes.
And if you didn't want to buy Afrochella tickets, 12,000 tickets have already been sold to Ghanaians in the diaspora. 12,000 have already been sold. So you better get the tickets quickly. It's going to be a fun day there.
ASAP.
Yes, and that's just one of the many reasons why the police need to be around.
Yes.
Directing traffic, making sure nothing is stolen.
I mean, there are so many events, coming off around
There's
this
a
time.
blitz of events.
Yeah. And I'm sure I'll be attending quite a number of them.
Komla is quite the dancer. It's quite the dancer. For those who don't know. So, you know what? To make it simple, if you don't believe me, this Saturday, come to the Legon Botanical Gardens for the Joy FM family party
in the park,
which is like officially kicks off the Christmas for us here at Joy FM, and of course at JoyNews.
Just something small. I'll just show them something small. Kakrivi.
Komla, something small is not small. Let me just let you know ahead of time. I wish I had video, goodness. Yeah, but you definitely, we need the IGP to rein Komla in a bit. So Mr. Pombueno, please.
So there's one big story in the Daily Guide newspaper, which also has been running all week. It's about the striking teachers. It says teachers call off Mahama Arias strike. Teachers call off Mahama Arias strike. So the story says 3 teacher unions have called off their strike following a court order. Then a statement issued and signed by General Secretary of the Ghana National Association of Teachers, NAT, that's Thomas Musa, said the decision by the unions to call off the strike was arrived at on the advice of their lawyers in consequence to a court order on Wednesday, December 11. But we also heard from one of the papers that they will return, they will lay down their tools again after the 10-day injunction.
So that's in the Daily Dispatch. Quite interesting. It says that the 3 agitated teacher unions say they will resume their strike after the 10-day injunction placed on their industrial action by an Accra High Court elapses.
Interesting.
Now, they've been on strike since December 9, but were forced to return to the classroom following the court's injunction secured against their move. The court's directive comes after the teachers defied a ruling by the National Labour Commission to call off their strike. Now, President for NAGRAT, Angel Carbono, speaking to Accra Bay City FM, said, forcing teachers to return to the classroom without tackling the cause of the industrial action will have dire consequences on teaching in the country. Says it will be wrong to assume that unhappy teachers will deliver as they are expected to do. Do you remember, was it 2006? 2006 or 7, the NAGRAT strike, the time that NAGRAT was led by Kwame Alobi. And then they went to court. And they were asked to teach according to their conscience. I was in school at the time. Let me make a confession. I mean, it was one of the most awkward moments where
teach according to their conscience. Like, what does that even mean?
That's what the judge actually told them. It was 2006, I believe. Yeah, I was just about to enter my second year.
You just want to tell me that I'm a baby. I know.
I'm actually embarrassed to say it because I know a lot of people call me a baby when I say this. But it was actually, they went on strike for 8 weeks. It was actually a very, very tough time. for teachers who had to come and face us in the classroom and say, look, we've been asked to teach according to our conscience. And we think this is not fair. And I think it's a similar statement that the NAGRAT's boss, interested in NAGRAT again, Angel Carbolo is making here. Now they are saying they'll go back on strike. Let's see if negotiations can stop that.
Let's see what else we have.
There's a lot more happening in there. Now, I'm very interested in this story that was on the front page of the Daily Statesman.
Okay. About
entering Trotro and checking if they have insurance. And I'll look at it from the other angle here on page 2 of the final newspaper. Passengers will soon be able to check on their phones if the Trotro or bus they are about to board has been properly insured. This is according to the Vice President. Now, if all goes according to the plan, the database of the National Insurance Commission, NIC, and the DVLA will soon be integrated to go live in January 2020 to complete another plank of the digitization agenda of the Nana Akufo-Addo administration as part of efforts to make accessing government services easier and corruption-free. I'm quoting him here. He was speaking at an NIC cocktail reception. I'm quoting him here. He says, after meetings with the DVLA and the National Insurance Commission about creating better synergies between them, it's expected that the motor insurance database will be connected to the DVLA system in January 2020, so that before a vehicle is issued with a roadworthy certificate, it can be verified whether it has a valid insurance cover from a licensed insurance company.
So when I'm going to board the Trotsky, I need to check on my phone?
That will, of course, be your choice.
Or when I'm in the car, then I check.
That will be your choice.
Now, but you know the hassle in town. The last thing you're thinking about when you're going to get onto a bus. I mean, you know, and then the bus is in, and there's a mad rush. Yeah. Then I'm now checking. Okay,
is it insured?
What? I don't know,
because there might be an accident when you get to Dunker. It's not a joke.
Perhaps it's going to work in another way.
But you see, that's not the only use. For the integration. First of all, it's great to integrate data systems. It's something that must work. And secondly, what it means is that if you're going to do your roadway, like you come and you have a big car, you're going to do your roadway.
I do.
Yeah. Renew it. They can check in their database with the NIC if your car is insured.
Okay.
Before you can do it, which is great.
Absolutely, yeah. So those are the big stories on the front page, the back pages of the dailies today. We can do the review of myjoyonline.com. The big stories there: over 15,000 security personnel deployed to deal with criminals. That's according to the Inspector General of Police. There's also another story about Asante Hene honoring, or he's been honored for his role in the mining industry. You can go to myjoyonline.com, read all that there. Then Trump sign off on deal to pause US-China trade war. For those who are interested in international relations, you can go on there and check.
Looks like the Conservatives are in the lead, though, the UK elections.
Oh, wow.
Those of us who want visas to the UK, Charlie, you need to be following that. Over 100 passengers robbed by armed men at Potting Junction. Near Cape Coast Highway. Potting, I know that very well.
Yeah, that story was on Joy FM this morning.
Photo of the week, I surrender unto thee. This was at the corporate worship where the Lord arose. The Spirit of the Lord was there at the Charismatic Evangelistic Ministry.
Yeah, and it ended in tears. Twitter sensation, soccer predictions elude Panthers.
Look, have you seen this guy's Twitter account?
I've been there, and I've seen that he's garnered more than 50,000 following in the last
24 hours.
Wow.
Okay, so let me just bring you up to speed. This man's pinned tweet is a vision he received from the Lord. So he's like a pastor, like he's a very religious person. All of a sudden, he begins to share on Twitter that he knows the people who are going to win some soccer matches. And so he can predict so that if you're going to bet on these games, you can win the money.
Yeah.
And his popularity has soared in a matter of hours.
Yeah.
He himself is shocked. Yeah. He's still giving the predictions. His Twitter handle is at Oswald the Sun.
But yesterday, it ended up in tears.
Yeah. It ended in tears for a few people. But he says that he warned you. He didn't say it's going to by all means. And he still has a lot of people following him.
Absolutely. I mean, he's still getting a lot more followers there.